iZombie Season 3, Episode 11, Conspiracy Weary. This was a pretty good episode, of course, going off the promo. I was super excited for this. The promo basically showed, like, all the excitement from that promo was pretty much, like, the first 3 or 4 minutes of the episode, so I do wish that it was, like, a bit longer, you know, a bigger portion of the episode. But there was still a lot of stuff that got done in this one that I really enjoyed. Of course, starting with the opening, it was actually pretty intense. It picks up right where the last episode ends. Of course, Robbie doesn't end up being killed. I never really thought that he would die. I figured either Blaine and Liv would come in at the last minute, or kind of like what they did. The guy doesn't want to kill Robbie, so he kind of tricks him, and then he just hits him in the head to, you know, get him out of the way. He didn't actually want to kill him, though. So it was like, all right. Still interesting. Liv comes in, like, you know, she's banging on the door. She takes the first guy out. Blaine drops in. That's when they start taking people out. I think 3 people end up dying. 1 guy gets his brain eaten by Don E, Blaine, and Liv, which led to a really cool moment where all 3 of them have the vision. I thought that was pretty funny. But they also kill the other 2 guys because for whatever reason they wanted to go out guns blazing even though they were completely surrounded. So they completely get wiped out, and of course, you know, the last person remaining, the only guy who really matters, he ends up becoming a zombie by the end of the episode, which I knew was going to happen because they were doing the whole thing where they didn't show his face. I was like, he's definitely a zombie. So I'm assuming that happened along the way. But who knows, maybe he was a zombie the whole time and he just wanted to get rid of other zombies, or maybe find out the truth about who is behind it, or, you know, something like that. I kind of doubt it because of the way his character is playing it. If he wanted to, like, no longer be a zombie, maybe he would have waited for Robbie. He actually would have done that if that was, like, his true goal. So I don't think he was a zombie beforehand, but somehow he became a zombie. Wouldn't surprise me with all the chaos that was going on if he got, like, a tiny little scratch. That wouldn't be surprising in any way, shape, or form, but he's officially a zombie by the end of the episode. Eventually, I'll remember his name as well, because I never bothered to remember those guys' names. Just mostly because I just don't like them. So, and plus, I kind of thought they were all going to get wiped out in the beginning. I didn't think any of them were going to make it beyond this, and then it would kind of be, you know, kind of left open, and then there would be someone else who could probably come in and take over. But I love the way they did it. Things kicked off pretty strong. Ultimately, everyone does end up surviving, and that's when things kind of just carry on. It's like, all right, well, that was a crazy opening. We have pretty much all the characters kind of in, you know, one section. And it's like, all right, well, this was a crazy moment. We got rid of all these guys. These guys wanted to go out blazing. This guy got his brains eaten. And, you know, the last person that they needed took off. So then it goes from there to the cabin, where it's like, okay, well, we'll go to this cabin. We'll take the guy down. Turns out, not only does he have this cabin with, like, a super secret underground outhouse bunker, which is super obvious, actually, because in general, an outhouse, you know, people are probably going to find that a little suspicious. Like, why do you have this cabin out in the middle of the woods and you built an outhouse instead of actual plumbing? That's kind of dumb. So it's like, I personally speaking, I just like, I feel like someone would search that. Like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe people would just instantly be disgusted. I don't know, but I just thought that's a little obvious these days. It's an outhouse. That's a little weird. Like, I would probably be more suspicious of that than anything else. Even if I hadn't gone in the house yet, I'd be like, why would he have an outhouse? It's like, all this stuff that he's prepped for, he wasn't prepped for plumbing. Like, it just wouldn't make sense to me. So, anyway, we find out that he knew about the bug in the truck. So he set that up so that he could trick the, basically the Fillmore Graves, you know, their mini zombie army. He ends up killing off 2 people. Fortunately, Major doesn't end up being wounded, because I was like, you know, he can't be doing this stuff. Like, if he gets hit, he's done for. Because I don't know, you know, we don't really know how that stuff plays out. Like, if you're super wounded as a human, if someone scratches you, can you still survive in that instance? Or, you know, how does that play out? Because, you know, there's just certain elements to that. Like, how does it really work? Can it spread fast enough? You know, if your leg's blown off and you're bleeding out like crazy, will it still work? Or, you know, what's the case there? But it was definitely an interesting moment. So, of course, they have to back off, and it's like, well, we don't know where this guy is. You know, the bunker was a trap. Nobody's been there for a super long time. And then, of course, Clive realizes that there was a noise complaint, and that's how we get to the construction and stuff at the end of the episode. And it's revealed that he is actually not only a zombie now, but also not the person that actually killed Wally and his family, even though the guns match. So that was very interesting. And it was him and the guy that whose brains Liv ate. Both of them were outside the house, but the guns are an exact match. So it is someone that's been to their place that bought the guns and maybe they just store them in the back of the truck, or maybe they knew that, it's like, okay, well, these guys are going to be grabbing all the attention. I'll just toss these guns, in the back of their truck, and if they get busted, no big deal. And of course, with them running a gun shop, they probably wouldn't have that big of a concern. It wouldn't be like, oh, where did these guns come from? It would just be like, we have 1,000,000 guns anyway. It's one of those simple little things where you just kind of brush over the fact that, oh, there's 2 more guns. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So it was very interesting because it's like, well, the bullets match, but we get to the end and it's like, it wasn't them. So there's a huge mystery there still. And honestly, it seems like things are leading more and more towards Fillmore Graves being like the enemy for some reason. And I'm trying to figure out what the deal is, but it's really tough. And of course, in this episode, Peyton is still going for the Weckler case. She gets the flash drive. They now have to go through that info, but during the moment when she receives the flash drive, she's with Weckler's daughter, and of course this little girl has a vision. And I thought that was interesting because the last time we saw her, she was on like the toothpaste. So I was like, okay, well, whose brain did she just eat, and why does she just have a vision? So that's honestly the first thing that popped in my head. So of course Peyton now knows that his daughter is a zombie, and they're trying to figure out like, well, who has these connections that could threaten his daughter and keep her well fed and stuff. And they went to Baracus because of course he wants to be zombie mayor, which does happen by the end of this episode. So that does finally come to fruition where they have officially their zombie mayor. So it was just interesting. It was like, it's got to be Baracus, of course, wanting to be zombie mayor and everything. And I'm just like, well, yeah, he's powerful, but still he needs people to kind of bankroll him with that sort of threatening security and stuff. And I feel like it's Fillmore Graves. That's just where it seems to be leading. I just can't think of a reason why it would. If it's not them, it just brings up the question: who in the world else could it be? So I don't know. Maybe it's not Fillmore Graves, but it seems to be leading, leaning more and more towards that. I just could be wrong, but it's like, man, everything, every time they kind of go through another step, it's like, well, it seems like it's just leading more towards Fillmore Graves, unless there is another like little organization out there. So a lot of mysteries alongside with the gun thing. As far as Baracus is concerned, the same type of gun that killed Wally's family was the gun that was used there. So there's another added little layer. Whoever's connected to that, the murder of Wally's family is the same person that shot at Baracus during the last episode, or the episode before last. But it was just crazy. It was like, man, there's a lot of mysteries being thrown around, like slight answers kind of being thrown in here and there. But it was really good. Of course, we have the reveal of what's going on with Major and his now ex-girlfriend. And it wasn't as bad as I thought. I knew something was really weird. She's taking all these pictures and stuff, and it ends up being, at least her plan, was to show people the normal side of, the Chaos Killer. That was kind of her plan. It was like, look, he's just a normal guy. Even though a lot of the pictures were him without his shirt on, so it was like, that didn't help. And those shirts started going out on sale, and they have that ending scene when he's going to Fillmore Graves, and everyone assumes that he's the one selling the t-shirts and stuff, and it's like, that didn't seem to make any sense to me whatsoever, that people instantly just assumed it was him, but I don't know. But there's a bunch of people who were like, of course they still hate him, he's the Chaos Killer and stuff like that. And as he points out early on when Robbie's friend shows up, who has a very important role by the end of this episode, he does mention technically he's the Chaos Kidnapper because he never killed anybody. But I think he might be cleared by the time we hit the next episode, even though, once again, they don't focus on like the stuff I really want them to focus on in the promos. They focus on like the comedy aspect. But by the end of this episode, everything Robbie told his friend ends up in a newspaper because I'm pretty sure she said she was just a photographer before, but she's a full-on journalist. So she wants all that info, and I had my theories that maybe she had someone who was a zombie, and that's why she cared. But it seems like she just naturally cares. She doesn't want someone to die, but she still wants that story, and it's out there now. He gave her kind of the full details, and they have his front page and everything is like, check it out, zombies exist. The video, of course, they were doing it live. They did a lot of stuff, and I'm pretty sure all that stuff was on camera. Like people dropping in the ceilings and Blaine eating a dude and stuff like that. Because they didn't even reference the fact that there were still cameras basically pointed straight down at them. So I'm like, I don't know how much extra footage was caught during like this whole live stream thing, but a zombie dropping down and they start chomping on people. That'll kind of send a message. So I don't know exactly how that might play into effect in the next episode or not, but that stuff in the newspaper, picture, front page and everything is like, check it out, the undead in Seattle. So that was a big deal by the end of the episode. And I knew something was going to happen. Like, she goes to her boss, because I was wondering, like, you know, what is this stuff? And then, of course, she shows up, and I was like, oh, crap, he gave her, like, the full story. And who knows how much info he gave her about himself and, like, his actual connection to zombies. But he gave her, like, a really big story. So I would assume he gave her, you know, the boat massacre thing. I don't know. It's hard to say how far he really went with the information that he gave her, but I would assume at least the boat massacre thing and, you know, the Max Rager stuff. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I thought this was a pretty good episode. They, you know, had some pretty great cliffhangers. Of course, we have, like, the one guy who was constantly going for zombies. All his friends are dead now, and now he's a zombie. So we'll see how that ends up playing out for him. He's also not the murderer, so now that mystery is still going on, and it's now officially linked to the Baracus thing, and we still don't know who this mysterious organization is, if it's Fillmore Graves, if it's someone else. And then, of course, we have the official news in the newspaper about zombies. So there's a lot that happened by the end of this episode, and I'm very excited for the next one. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts were. And I definitely want to know where you guys think things are headed now that they've put out, like, this newspaper at the end of the episode. And of course, where things are headed now with, like, the whole zombie truther thing, now that the main guy for the zombie truthers is a zombie himself. So I would love to know where you guys think things are headed with those two storylines and how that'll, you know, affect the rest of the season. And of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.